Well, it's been a quiet week in Storrs, Connecticut, my hometown, out on the edge of the campus. It's the time of year when we all wish the temperature would make up its mind already. The other day I checked my thermometer and saw that it was 57 degrees, and I immediately began turning cartwheels and jumping up and down to celebrate the end of winter. But then I turned on my TV to Channel 3.
Live from WFSB, Connecticut's first choice for news. This is Channel 3 Eyewitness News this morning.
And just as it came on, I heard the local weatherman, Scott Danielson, saying,
"Today is a beautiful day, but don't put your parkas away just yet. By the end of the week, we predict a 56-degree drop in temperature."
And my heart sank. Winter was not over yet. Maybe it had only been 5 weeks since Groundhog Day, but I quickly decided not to let this get me down and just to enjoy this beautiful weather while it lasted. And I knew exactly where I wanted to spend this fantastic day, in Storrs Center, otherwise known as
the Storrs of Storrs.
So first I went into the Dog Lane Cafe.
Come.
Sit.
Stay. And I walked up to the counter expecting to see the usual bartender, Howard K. Teasdale, but he wasn't there. Instead, there was a crotchety old man behind the counter, and after I ordered my mocha and lemonade cocktail, I figured I would try to make conversation with this guy, so I said, "Nice day." But he replied,
"For Pete's sake, why is everyone trying to talk to me about the weather today? Is it the only topic of conversation that exists? If one more person tries to tell me that it's a nice day, as if I couldn't figure that out for myself, I swear I will poison their drink. Now off with you."
And after I finished my cocktail, I decided to try my luck somewhere else. I went around the corner to 7-Eleven, and I bought 2 Nutri-Grain bars and a package of Starbursts. And the girl behind the counter seemed friendly, so I said to her, "It's a nice day, isn't it?" And she said,
"It's beautiful. Say, why don't you write a story about me?"
And it reminded me of the spring of 1968, back when I was in high school. I had the most amazing English teacher that year. His name was Fred Minestrone. And one day, Mr. Minestrone gave us a very interesting assignment.
Kids, I'm going to give each of you a random sentence, and you're going to have to write a story beginning with that sentence.
And the sentence he assigned me was,
"Clinging on to every last bit of glorious sunshine I could muster, I dejectedly and cantankerously groped my way past the corpse of my favorite person in the world, and pressed on toward the shopping cart filled with bridesmaids' dresses."
I ended up writing a 35-page memoir beginning with that sentence, and I absolutely insisted that I be allowed to share the entire thing in class. So I did. And when I finished reading it, there was an intense silence, and no one seemed to want to say anything. And after approximately 87 seconds of this intense silence, the bell finally rang to signal the end of class, and as the tension diffused, one kid observed,
I'd say we were just saved by the bell.
But 35-page memoirs are nothing compared to what people read nowadays. A few days ago, I was walking around in Storrs Center, and I noticed a man giving a dramatic reading of Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce.
"River run past Eve and Adams, from swerve of shore to bend of bay, brings us by a commodious vicus of recirculation, back to the Howth Castle and Inveralls."
And as I stood there listening to him read,
"Sir Tristram, Viola de Amors, over the short sea hath passing Corey arrived from North America, on this side the scraggy isthmus of Europe Minor to wield or fight his peninsulate war, nor had topsoils..."
And as I stood there, a young man in the audience suddenly shouted,
"I beg your pardon, sir, but what the heck do these words mean?"
and his mother, appalled at his behavior, snapped,
"Shut up, Ray!"
You never know what you'll find in Storrs Center. There are so many places to go in this wonderful downtown area. There's Sweet Emotions, Moe's, the parking garage, and of course the Dog Lane Cafe.
Come.
Sit.
Stay.
And every once in a while, a new venue opens up in Storrs Center. The newest edition is called Le Petit Marche Café, and that means literally...
The Petite March Cafe.
The other day I went to Le Petit Marche Café and tried to order a sandwich, but the girl behind the counter had other ideas. She said,
Come on, Josh. You're over halfway through this monologue, and you've only told one pun. And it was a really lame one. We need more puns now.
and as I walked out of the cafe, a clown held the door open for me. It was a very nice gesture. But then the clown was eaten by a cannibal who remarked,
This clown tastes funny.
but if you ever go to a cannibal dinner party, make sure you don't arrive late.
Because you might get the cold shoulder.
I do wish I could listen to your puns all day, but I'm having an old friend for dinner.
So I decided to walk over to Mirror Lake. Mirror Lake is located on the Yukon campus, and on a beautiful day, its surface acts just like a mirror. It's so beautiful that if this mirror were ever to break, my heart would shatter. And as I stood there, I saw an old woman sitting by the shore of Mirror Lake, staring into the water and asking,
Who is the fairest one of all?
and the lake did not say anything because lakes can't talk. So I let my mind wander back to the spring of 1968, back when I was in high school. One day my friends and I were hanging out in the atrium playing a game of Puns Against Humanity, which is a game where you see who can come up with the best pun about a particular topic, such as condiments.
Practice safe eating. Always use condiments.
That's the kind of pun I can relish.
I'm going to need some time to catch up on all of these puns.
I may or may not be able to think of one.
He may or may not be able to think of one. So for this particular round, I was the judge, and the topic was jobs.
I used to work in an orange juice factory, but I got canned because I couldn't concentrate.
I used to be a lumberjack, but I just couldn't hack it, so they gave me the axe.
I used to be a butcher, but I backed into the meat grinder and got a little behind in my work.
I tried to be a historian, but I realized there was no future in it.
And I suddenly felt compelled to join in, so I said, well, I used to work in a shoe factory, but I just couldn't fit in. And one of my friends, Chris Bazzard, promptly stood up and said,
Wow, that's quite a feat. You've got soul.
and another one, Edwin Cartwright, tucked him back down and said,
Chris, put a sock in it.
and both of those comments resonated within me particularly strongly. Chris and Edwin greatly impacted my life just by making those simple statements. I really am owing them a lot. Marco my words. Of course, these days, whenever I'm in need of a bit of inspiration, I go to the Dog Lane Cafe.
Come.
Stay just a little bit longer. So the last time I went, I was sitting there working on my latest 35-page memoir when I overheard a young couple a few tables away. She appeared to be helping him with his trigonometry homework. She was saying,
Jack, you're just not getting it. You keep going off on a tangent.
and he replied,
Well, Rose, the problem is I don't know which angle of the triangle you're talking about. I just can't seem to find the right angle.
and Rose responded,
Jack, if you don't learn how to do trigonometry the right way, that would be a titanic mistake.
and Jack said,
I trust you, Rose. I won't go down with the ship.
and at that moment the manager of the restaurant was passing by and he overheard their conversation and advised them,
Guys, don't get in over your head. To me, trigonometry is an ocean of uncertainty. It's a concept I just can't fathom.
And as I continued to sit there, I let my mind wander back to the spring of 1968, back when I was in high school. That was the year that E.O. Smith hosted the annual Connecticut Drama Festival, where 10 schools from across the state came together and performed plays. Our play was...
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? The musical.
And at the end of the evening, there was an award ceremony, and this year's winner was R.H. Gimple High School with their production of
The Elephant Man, the musical.
But But right before the award ceremony, 4 random people were picked from the audience, and each was asked to give a performance approximately 15 seconds in length. So the first guy told a light bulb joke.
So how many country singers does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know, how many?
4. 1 to change it, 1 to sing about how heartbroken he is at the loss of the old one, 1 to sing about how madly in love he is with the new one, and 1 to go, yay-haw, and throw his hat here.
And the second guy recited a speech from a Marx Brothers movie.
One morning, I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How we got in my pajamas, I don't know. Then we tried to remove the tusks, but they were embedded so firmly we couldn't budge them. Of course, in Alabama, the tusks go looser. But that's entirely irrelevant to what I was talking about.
And next was a girl who attempted to recite the preamble to the Constitution backwards.
America of States United, the for Constitution, this established and ordained do. Posterity are and ourselves to liberty of blessing the secure, and welfare general the promote, defense common the for provide, tranquility domestic ensure, justice established, union perfect, more of form to order in, States United, the of people the we.
And I was the 4th person chosen, and I decided to perform a Shakespeare monologue, but I got a bit carried away with the time.
You have 15 seconds. Go.
If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly. If the assassination could trammel up the consequence
Time's
and
up.
catch with his surcease success,
I
then
really
but this
think you
blow
should
might
stop
be the be-all
talking
and
now.
the end-all here. But here,
For God's sake,
thank
will
you
you
so
shut
much.
up?
Okay, all right. But your rules are foul, and foul isn't fair.
But I had an excuse to go over the time limit. You see, it was my senior year, and we were already starting to approach the end of the year. And I was beginning to realize how soon I would be graduating and leaving, and all of the fabulous people I would be leaving behind. People like Owen, whose sheer brilliance in handling language, words, and life never ceases to amaze me. And Marco, with whom I've shared many a wonderful, meaningless conversation, who's always there to amuse me by quoting from Dave Barry or pointing out typos in the manual. And Lucas, who baffles me with his philosophical musings and still manages to enhance my understanding of what it means to be human, to be fabulous, and to be Liam's brother. And Allie, because no matter how long and hard my AP statistics class is, I know she is just around the corner. Quite literally. And, I couldn't imagine that I would ever meet anyone quite as amazing as the people I knew back then. And in the 45 years since then, I've met plenty of people I absolutely adore. Howard K. Teasdale is only one example, but I still miss the people I knew back in the spring of 1968, back when I was in high school. But I find that if I listen closely, I can always hear them talking to me. I hear Allie repeating all the puns I told her in high school, even the ones she pretended to hate.
The Paradis Cafe was located in a dark alley. Come on, quit joshing me already, or I'll get very stern with you.
And I hear Lucas reciting his own poetry.
There once was a pool of blue light that mirrored my face in its sight. I stood by the edge, by a great green hedge, to stare at myself because I am a sociopathic narcissist.
And Marco rattles off quotes from intellectual politicians.
It's wonderful to be here in the great state of Chicago.
And Owen is always there to inspire me with deeply meaningful quotes.
Do not walk behind me, for I may not lead. Do not walk in front of me, for I may not follow. Do not walk beside me, for the path is narrow. In fact, just leave me alone.
And that's the news from Storrs, Connecticut. Where all the women are strong, all the men are good-looking, and all the tailors, composers, and sound designers are above average. Woo!